Hello, New York City. Heidi from Brooklyn. This is the first of a series of interviews I'll be conducting with small businesses and organizations in our community of Park Slope and Gowanus. I'm joined today by Heather Davidson, the founder of Humanist Action Project, which is a non-for-profit for special projects around acts of human kindness. It was founded in 2020, and one of the key initiatives launched Cancer helps cancer patients at New York Presbyterian Brooklyn Methodist Hospital in Park Slope, as well as other hospitals. I'll let Heather speak to that effort in a moment, but first, the concept around how the Humanist Action Project, or HAP, is structured. Think of it as an umbrella for smaller acts of kindness initiatives. So if someone has an idea about such acts, but has not had the means or momentum of the small initiative to obtain a 501c3 status, they can utilize the HAP platform to make their vision a reality. So let's jump in. Heather, thank you so much for joining me today. Can you tell us a little bit about why you started HAP?
Hi, Heidi. Thanks for having me. Well, I was always interested in giving back to the community, but I wasn't entirely sure how to do that, like what it is that I wanted to do. But so I ended up starting Humanist Action Project in 2020, and it had been after I had recently experienced a diagnosis of breast cancer and went through treatment. And in that process, I had learned that patients who are going through chemotherapy have distinct needs in addition to receiving the treatment for their cancer. And so what I learned from that process, I put together a kit in order to give to cancer patients prior to their chemotherapy. That was as I was forming HAP, that was my first initiative. And I wanted to keep in mind that we could build smaller initiatives under the umbrella if we needed to. And even before I got started on the Cancer initiative, I ended up working in COVID because just as I had started the organization, COVID struck, and I ended up utilizing Humanist Action Project to organize my neighborhood in order to help connect neighbors to one another in order to help elderly people run errands or go pick up prescriptions. As you know, we were isolating and it was very hard for people. And so I used this platform in order to organize to help people in my neighborhood for COVID.
It's amazing. Okay, so I did mention the Cancer initiative, and that's kind of the foundation for it. So what are the specifics of that project? What do you actually do to help cancer patients?
So as I was recovering from my breast cancer treatment, I recognized that early patients who are newly diagnosed with cancer they might be too overwhelmed by their diagnosis to fully prepare for the experience of chemotherapy. It's a very difficult process. And especially if a patient who receives chemotherapy first, you're literally like a week later, you're just whisked into chemotherapy and the patient is very frightened and you just don't know how to prepare. And so when I went through this, I recognized there are certain things that I needed that I didn't entirely have. So I noted the supplies that sort of eased my own chemotherapy experience. I actually surveyed other cancer patients, and I developed the Cancer Chemo Care Kit to help patients through this difficult time. And so this kit contains a variety of items to be comfortable during the chemotherapy process, like when you're literally receiving the treatment, comfort afterward, some medication that will sort of ease some of the side effects, and some other supplies that will help in ways that you wouldn't even expect. And then things that are distracting. The chemotherapy process, when you go for an infusion, the patient's sitting and receiving the treatment for several hours. So So I included some other items as part of that, and I put it all in a little canvas tote bag, and I provide it in bulk to cancer centers. New York Presbyterian is a cancer center that I provide to, as well as Montefiore hospitals.
Okay, wonderful. Do you have any samples of what you put in there for creature comforts? And that was quite a mouthful. The cancer chemo something kit, like that was such a mouthful.
It's called Can't Sir, which is a play on the word cancer, sort of like it's an anti-cancer statement. Can't Sir Chemo Care Kits. So essentially it looks like this, and it's
Okay.
a bag, and I try to make it really cute so so the patients will enjoy it. And so within this bag, I provide a couple of items. So for instance, like what I'm wearing right now is like a poncho or a robe, or not a robe, but like a shawl. And so we provide one of these because these patients get very cold. The chemotherapy they're receiving is liquid, and it's infused into their bodies, and the chemo is quite cold. It's room temperature, but your body is 98.6 degrees, and when it's infused in, it makes the patient very, very cold. So provide one of these so that it's easy to access the infusion port, which is usually installed right here on their chest, on their collarbone. So we provide those. We provide like a cute little hat that they can wear. Also some fuzzy socks to keep their feet nice and warm. We also provide this is like a journal. So it's a chemotherapy journal that we provide, and essentially they will record when they go in for their infusions, and usually they're every 3 weeks. Sometimes they're weekly, but usually it's every 3 weeks. And in between, the patient is conscious of various side effects that they might be experiencing, and they can record the types of side effects that they're experiencing in the journal. They can also record other symptoms like a pain tracker, any exercise they're doing, or any food that they're eating, because this way they can just every day write down in the journal what's happening with them. And when they go back for their next infusion, they just hand it over to their nurse, and the nurse can see what kind of side effects they're having, and the patient doesn't have to remember 3 weeks worth of side effects.
I know that that when going through chemotherapy, people do have something called brain fog, and so this is helpful that because for them to have to remember from one infusion to the next what happened, it's important for them to be able to write it down just then, so that they don't have to try and remember it. Exactly
right. So when the patient goes in for their chemotherapy infusions, they have to be there for quite a long time. The first infusion, some of them receive, is several hours long, and then each time they're probably there for 1 hour to 2 hours receiving their treatment. And so we provide a little puzzle book for the patients to sit, and while they're getting their infusion, they can play little games. And one of the things that I noticed when I was going through my chemotherapy, we would drive to the infusion center every 3 weeks, and I would put on my seatbelt, and the seatbelt came right across my port. And it was very painful. I'd have to like stick something under there. So I include in the kit this little, it's hard to see, it's a seatbelt cover, and you just put it over that area, and it doesn't hurt your port. This is something people don't think about. In addition, we have other little supplies that we include in this cute little bag. We have a whole bunch. I usually include several masks, tissues. Now, this is really important. Unfortunately, some of the side effects of chemotherapy is diarrhea, so there's some Imodium that we include, so they can have that right away. They don't have to go to the drugstore; it's just right there. Electrolytes, these come in handy as well. Some lotion, make your skin gets really dry. Sometimes you get a rash because this chemo messes with your skin, and some lip balm, which depends. And we also include some supplies, some materials from someone we were partnering with, our partner Immerman's Angels, which is an organization that pairs cancer patients up with one another. If you have a certain type of cancer, or you have There's a whole criteria when you join Immerman's Angels where you might have family situations that are similar, but they try to pair people up so that you can talk to somebody who truly understands what you're going through. Let's see what else is in there. There's other things, small items, but I wanted to just highlight the most important things that are in there. And so during my experience, these are the things that I thought would be very helpful to somebody who is newly diagnosed and they're just thrust into the whole chemotherapy scene. So what happens is that, like I said, we provide these in bulk to New York Presbyterian as well as some other cancer centers, and they just hand them this kit on their first day and say, here you go, here's some supplies. And the response has been really amazing. The sites think that the sites that I give these away to also really enjoy some of the elements of them. The scarf, the coordinators over there really loved, so I got a whole bunch for them as well, because they're like, oh, we love the scarves, can we get some scarves? So the people who work at the centers also enjoy them, but the feedback has been amazing. I'm just so grateful that they find them to be useful.
That's amazing. And I'm sure that there are many patients who, have found great comfort in these kits. It's amazing what you do. And I know that that it's something that you feel very strongly about because, having been through it yourself, having those creature comforts and people who understand. You actually already talked through my second question was about the COVID stuff, but you already mentioned that.
Well, actually, you described the concept of it being an umbrella, and there might be individuals who feel like they need a vehicle to help them achieve some goal or some humanist goal, something that would help other people. And that was the exact situation that occurred, in which the tenants association for my building needed a little help. They needed some marketing and they needed some organizational elements, which I provided to them through Humanist Action Project for COVID. Also partnered with another organization called Marked by COVID, which is a national organization, and we helped promote they had regular meetings right when COVID had begun. So we provided some support for them. So, and that's just an example of there's an opportunity, and because the organization is a charitable organization, we could easily just jump in and help where needed.
That's great. And it's such a, and I don't know if there's any other organizations out there like that, but for the audience today, if there is an idea that you've had about an act of kindness or some community void that needs to be filled, maybe the Humanist Action Project could be a good platform to fill that need, that need of that act of kindness. This organization is actually near and dear to me because I happen to be on the board. So if you have any questions or would like to propose an act of kindness initiative, please reach out to Heather. You can actually go directly to her website. I will put up a QR code and the URL for it so that you can contact her through the site. And if you would like to donate, you can go through the HAP site as well. And I'll include that in the description. So I wanted to thank Heather for joining me today and talking through her efforts, not only for Park Slope and Gowanus, but for all of mankind, for all of her initiatives, and giving this platform to the community so that they could potentially utilize it for their own acts of kindness. So thank you, Heather.
Well, thank you for having me. I feel so honored that I was on your inaugural video for the neighborhood. So I look forward to seeing more of these.
I would like to do at least 2 of these a month, maybe more, but that we'll see how that progress is. Okay, so again, I will include the information in the description, and if anyone has any questions, can reach out to Heather through the website, or you can, DM me. Until next time, bye.